Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Got a little video I'm going to do for you this morning. Come off a Facebook post. Thought you'd find it real interesting. I named this True Miracle, and I'll show you why. This is what we're looking at, is the send to list of an email that I sent on January 8th, 2013. And that was about 11 months after the premeditated murder attempt on my life. And it's called A True Miracle, and it was sent to a lot of important people. A lot of, and I'm going to go over and list some of them and show you. But basically, I built this send to list, distribution list in my email. I went online, started doing research, and I got about half the churches in Midland. Okay, and so you can see there's First Baptist is in there, Golf Course Road Church of Christ. The Fairmont Park Church of Christ right around the corner. Mid-Cities Church was there. West Texas Cowboy Church, Stonegate. So you can see just a huge number of churches. And so whoever was at them churches got this information, almost 9 years ago about what's going on here with the secret underground homes. They're rigging the homes. People getting in the attic. It's organized crime. It looks like we have a significant public corruption, police corruption problem that's assisting with the burglaries, where they're breaking in the homes, getting in the attic, the theft that goes along with it, because they have to steal heating and cooling, electricity, to when they get in the attic. So they're thieves, so they're burglars and thieves. Basically, they're looking at a decade in prison at least. It's going on all over the place. Also listed online at the time was the email addresses for every supervisor in the Midland Police Department. So I got them all. That's who most of these people are right here. You can see their names, and back then, they wasn't trying to hide their, contact information. Now you go online, you can't find this, and it's hard to how hard it is to contact people today, but back then, here's like, contact us, we'll help you, or whatever, and so, Price Robinson, the chief of police, he got it. Seth Herman was a supervisor. He's now the current chief of police. Okay, you can see Wes Perry was the mayor when I was ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, and then Jerry Morales was a councilman. Then he became mayor. He's no longer mayor. Rick Perry was governor of Texas back then. Sheriff Painter was alive, and it was later said, where I recorded a sheriff candidate saying that Painter used to hide out in these $1 million underground homes. And you also see all the current or the former city council members and mayor as well, and so this huge list. There's also friends, family. It was a large list, and basically I was giving God all the praise and glory for saving my life, because it become evident that this was premeditated. Nobody accidentally breaks into a home, accidentally cuts the phone lines, and accidentally shoots the owner. They were here to murder me, and now we know police were under my home. That's the facts. That's nobody can argue them facts. All we can do is ignore that we have a secret police murder gang that's free, okay, here in Midland. And I'm going to read this to you. True miracle. 11 months after I'd been ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, I sent this email to a lot of important people. Back in 2012, the email addresses for our city leaders and law enforcement were posted online. They no longer do that. And I'm sure this is one of the reasons why. They don't want to be contacted with this crime information. That's why. As seen in this meme, it was every supervisor of the Midland Police Department, which included Chief of Police Price Robinson, current Chief of Police Seth Herman, the former Mayor Wes Perry, and every member of the city council, including Jerry Morales, that would later become mayor. He's no longer mayor. Sheriff Painter and Governor Rick Perry was also on the distribution list. A lot of these people, all the jobs has changed, but nothing's really changed. There's been no admission of guilt. There's no stopping the crimes. There's no attempt to stop. Well, they know that these homes are rigged all over the city. People getting in the attic for burglary and theft and murder and rape, etc., and nothing's going on. And but I think the one thing that is the key is who put them people in office. That's what didn't change. The same people that put them people in office, that bankrolled their election, that's the ones that we should be looking at. I think that's probably where you'll find out that they're the ones that are bankrolling the crime and corruption here. I named this email True Miracle because I was giving God all the praise and glory for saving my life after they had planned and executed the home invasion and premeditated murder attempt on my life so carefully. Remember, I was home minding my own business. That's where people tell me today, be careful, buddy, they'll kill you if you keep talking. I'm going, they were trying to murder me when I wasn't talking. These people are just killers. That's what they break into homes. They kill people. That's who they are. I believe the primary motive for murder was to steal my home, since it has one of the $1 million underground homes in the backyard. But there are other motives, such as the trap burglar that was in the bathroom that night that I didn't know about. Me finding out about the young girl that was murdered at the 2010 oil show party. That's a good motive for murder, right? Because police were at that party. My mom's unexplained death the month before I'm ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, as well as attorney landman Matt Hyman dying in my hallway, being electrocuted in my hallway 2 weeks earlier, and I believe that happened, and maybe it was revenged by his friends, and maybe Rosie Rodriguez is one of his friends, Detective Rosie Rodriguez, dirty cop. I wrote this email and then saved it as a draft as I was a little concerned about contacting so many important people. I then went and took a bath and read my Bible. I was doing that every day back then. I randomly opened up my Bible to Esther chapter 4. In this Bible story, Mordecai, the uncle of Queen Esther, was telling her that she needed to go talk to the king, as he had found out Haman was planning on killing all the Jews in the land, and she was a Jew, even though she was queen. Esther told him, Mordecai says, that anybody approaches the king without being summoned is put to death. And he tells her, do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. But yet who knows whether you come to the kingdom for such a time as this. When I read this that said, do not remain silent, I knew what I was supposed to do. I went to my computer. I pulled up this draft email with all these important people, and I described the violent crimes that was going on, and I hit send. I think there are other people that know about these violent criminals and encourage them to also not remain silent. Anyway, Esther did approach the king. He was pissed off. They hung Haman on the same gallows he had built to hang Mordecai. And so I was just going to show you this email send to list. I posted it before. Here's an interesting comment come in on this. There's actually quite a few of them here between one guy, if I can get them here. And okay, so here's this guy here. Scott Littlejohn says, no, that was Mike Lawhon. Or no, he asked me. He said, the guy who died in your hallway was the previous owner? That's what he didn't understand, because I was talking about the trap burglar on the night of the murder attempt. So that's what he was asking about. And I said, no, that was Mike Lawhon. 2 weeks before the murder attempt, I noticed that people were trying to come into my bedroom. So I quickly built a safe room by putting electricity on the doorknob, on my bedroom doorknob. I was worried if they were going to kick out the doorknob like I believe they did when they killed Mike. I think this saved my life that night, but then 2 weeks later came the premeditated murder attempt. After I survived, I checked the obituaries to see if anybody had died on the day of the home invasion, and I saw where a young landman attorney named Matt Hyman did. I posted about it on my Facebook, and two of Matt's friends, Brian Hillman and Chris Mertz, threatened me as they were desperate to stop me from asking questions. Oilfield landmen are some of my top suspects for people connected with the oil show parties, and that's where I was told that young girl was murdered for refusing to prostitute. Hillman threatened me again not too long ago at a grocery store. Matt's sister-in-law told me that he died of a surprise heart failure that nobody knew he had. He was only 33 years old, and that he died at the same time I had electricity in my bedroom doorknob. His widow, Leslie, was the only witness to his surprise death, and she then married Brian Hillman, the guy that threatened me, the landman. Electricity stops the heart. That's the thing about it, is electricity stops the heart, and he has a surprise heart failure nobody knew he had. And and they couldn't go report that they were breaking into a private home, come from underground trapdoor entrance, and there's electricity and they got electrocuted, because they'd go to prison for it, I mean, that's a crime. It's a crime every day they break in my home, every day they break in these other homes. I was convinced that he died in my home by dirty detective Rosie Rodriguez because at the ER on the night of the shooting, the night I was shot, I was telling her that I had recognized that somebody had been in my home again and I had tie-wired my spare door shut to compartmentalize my home. And in a hateful tone of voice, Rosie said, "Did you put electricity on it?" This out of place and odd question told me that she knew I had put electricity on my bedroom doorknob 2 weeks earlier, except the police were never called that night. I wondered if she was friends with Matt and they were trying to somehow blame me because he got killed breaking into my home. Maybe the premeditated murder attempt of my life was revenge for Matt dying while breaking into my home 2 weeks before the murder attempt. And I have a video on that. And that's what I was telling him, because this guy's going, wait a minute, how's this work? And so I was explaining that. My next comment there says, I took this picture on October 1st, 2008, my first day to look at this home with my realtor, Janine Pruitt. As seen, the doorknob is fine, but 28 days later, the home inspector and I would find that it had been kicked out. Mike had died on the 12th of that month, so I suspected his killers kicked in this back door, chased him down, injected him with Darvocet, and then took him to Fort Worth. That is why I worried they were going to kick in my door on the night I believe Matt was electrocuted in my hallway, so I put electricity on it. It makes sense that the people that killed Mike tried to kill me. That would make them serial killers because they're killing one homeowner after another. This is the picture I was talking about with my realtor, Janine Pruitt, that found me this rigged for murder home here. Where she's standing in the utility room, right where I was shot, actually, and then right behind her is the door to the garage, is what it is. And see, I'm pointing out that there's a doorknob there. But right here on the home inspection report, 28 days later, me and the home inspector find out where this doorknob's been kicked out. Okay, so somebody kicked in that door during the month of October. We got proof of that. These are time stamped. And what happened during that month? Mike Lawhon died, the previous owner. And there's other information where it's made me suspect that Mike Lawhon was, murdered here. And that jumped off where it shouldn't have jumped off. And I'll see if I could find it here. There it is. Okay, so Scott Littlejohn says, holy crap, I don't know how I missed that. That's just effing crazy. So the guy's wife married his killer? Bro, you live in a movie. And I'm like, Leslie Hyman, the widow of Matt Hyman, married landman Brian Hillman that threatened me, not wanting me to ask questions about Matt's death. I didn't say he was a killer, though. I did wonder if he was here in my home when Matt was electrocuted or the night I was shot. Under my home, all of my doors and windows were secured with extra locks, so I knew they had came into my home from the underground trapdoor entrance the ex-wife had told me about. I believe the people with Matt saw him get electrocuted, and instead of giving him CPR and calling 911 to try and save his life, they decided to let him die so they wouldn't get busted. Of course, if they had called 911, then that would expose the underground homes, the tunnels, and all the crimes and other murders, And so that's the thing there is that, I knew that whoever was here in my home the night I put electricity on my doorknob, it was more than one person. I mean, they were real noisy, making a lot of noise that night. And so, obviously his friends saw him get electrocuted. They could have started CPR, called 911, tried to save his life, but they decided to let him die. And I wonder if Brian Hillman was one of them. Was Brian Hillman in my home with Matt Hyman and then saw him get electrocuted and said, oh, screw him, I'll just marry his wife or whatever. I just don't know. They're trying to figure out what's going on here, but obviously it's real easy to tell Brian Hillman is not on the side of right. That's for sure. Matt Hyman was not your guy. This is my wife's late husband. See, I found that out. I can assure you none of this happened. I suggest taking this down before I pursue legal action. He's threatening me, And it says, my wife was with him when he died. I seen his autopsy report. Take this down immediately. There's a lot of innocent mothers, brothers, children who don't need to see your bullshit today. Okay? He desperate, don't ask any questions, And I was talking about the girl murdered at the wholesale party. I don't care about that, It was real hateful and rude. And like I said, he threatened me at the grocery store just recently. I when I back up and it's not there no more. There it is. Okay. Rest in peace, Matt Hyman, and may the whole truth come out about how and where you died, as well as your friends letting you die. Okay, I 100% believe that to be true. That that Matt's friends. Yeah, that's what I didn't think that would work. Let him die. I can show you the obituary right here. 33 years old right here. See, that's kind of young to have a surprise heart failure. He was a landman. I suspect landman would be connected with the oil show parties. He also worked for Cotton Bledsoe Ty and Dawson, which was the city's attorney. And here's where his sister-in-law, Natalie Cherry Hyman, says, oh, he died from a genetic heart defect nobody knew he had. I said, was he messing with electricity? It only takes 100 milliamps to stop the heart. No, he wasn't. He had an effect, etc. I said, do you remember the time of death? Because I'm trying to eliminate him as possibly died in my house. The convincing part was Rosie Rodriguez at the ER, though. Did you put electricity on the tower? And then I knew for a fact that she was pissed about that electricity, And, of course, I'm a home minding my own business trying to save my life under a home invasion with armed and dangerous criminals breaking into my home and corrupt police that are backing up, these people that are breaking into these homes to steal and to kill and rape and everything else. It's just lawlessness what's going on here. Here's the same guy, Scott Lozano, that's wild. And I went on, I said, yes, as I said, this is one possible motive for murder, but I still believe the primary reason was the $1 million underground home in the backyard where the young girl was murdered at the 2010 oil show party, and Mike Lawhon died the week before the 2008 oil show party started. There's a lot of deaths connected with the underground homes and the crime ring that supports it, and that's what this is. The old Google Earth map showed it many times. This is my home where I was ambushed and shot. Right here's where it's showing where I shot. In the backyards where it's believed one of the underground homes is, well documented, multiple people. One guy was even running for sheriff. Well documented underground homes were here. You can see where the ditch was cut out of the back of Home Depot right here, coming towards my house. Right, I believe the people at the oil show party were going here underground, coming back through this ditch, through this tunnel, and here was one of the underground homes in the backyard there. And so there's other information on that picture, but basically it's just showing that it's that's one of the motives I think that's the primary motive for murder, is basically just stealing this property. It's because of this $1 million underground home. They were having the oil show parties there, and they murdered that little girl in 2010. Police were at the party. They've been trying to cover that up, and they don't want to admit that. And so anyway, I showed other videos, secrets of the pictures of the secret place. They accidentally started a camera on the night of the murder attempt, caught themselves staging the crime scene. What is known about the underground homes? Everything that talking about documented, somebody saying that the underground homes is 4 3-bedroom underground homes, etc., or whatever. And so. Yeah, and I think this guy's done where a lot of guys go when they talk about John Lang out of, it's a police corruption deal where the police, are suspected of killing John Lang because he was reporting crimes about the police. And that's where people see that, the similarities, because what I was doing was calling the police and I was reporting burglaries, not knowing that our police were working with the burglars that are breaking in the house. So you can see their problem when I trapped one of these burglars and in my own home and I've got a gun. Of course, they got a gun too, right? Because they shot me, right? So I trapped an armed and dangerous criminal in my bathroom, and the police that were underneath my home, and since they were working with the criminals, it looks like maybe they were involved in trying to murder me, the homeowner that was reporting the crime, instead of the criminals that's breaking into the homes. Basically, that's what's going on here. So anyways, this Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Thought y'd find that interesting.